Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Alex. Please like, comment, and subscribe. This will be your Titans Bills recap video and a small preview of the Seahawks game. Getting right into it. Mari Cooper's first game, pausing a little bit, but I'm going to keep it on. It'll catch back up. Thought he, after all, he had after the first drop in the first quarter. He really settled in. I thought they had a really funny kind of cadence with it all. I don't know if they really knew what they were doing in the beginning of how to get him involved in the 3 days of kind of finding his way in this game. So he was 4 catches, 66 yards, and a touchdown. But I think the main impact here was what I really wanted, and that was he opened things up for other guys. Keon Coleman had his best game of the year. I thought Kincaid was finally getting utilized properly and finding open space in a way that I've been looking for him to do for a while. I think he's going to need that kind of pressure off him until he gets, starts to improve a little bit more. I don't know if he's ever going to be a number one target, but this is a good step to getting some open space for him so he can start navigating a little bit better in the secondary. But I thought that Keon Coleman having his best game is not a surprise. Thought it opened up for him quite a bit. Him not having to go against the number one corner every single play was a big deal. And also, I think his releases have gotten a lot better, and I've noticed that over the last 2 weeks. But this week, he really did settle, and I thought he really created good initial short area quickness off the line of scrimmage to get some space and not get jammed up immediately. And hopefully, and he played a pretty physical corner in Brownlee the majority of the game. So I think going forward, this is hopefully something he can build on. Best game of his career so far. First 100-yard receiver of the season for the Bills. And it's no shocker that Josh also had over 300 yards for the first time this year when Cooper came on. So that was good. Thought the offense looked great. First half, it wasn't awesome, but as it settled in and they started figuring things out a little bit, I think they started to go, oh, okay, this is how we want this to look. This is where we're most effective. This is how the spacing needs to look. They moved Coleman around a little bit more in this game than they have in the past. I saw him in the slot a couple times. But I ultimately thought that this was a really good game by the full receiver group. Shakir also played really well and started to kind of find his rhythm again. I think he's finally starting to get closer to 100%. We're going to see more of it this week, but he really settled into his role better, and I thought this was the best role for Shakir going forward. Kincaid, really good game. Like I said, I think that he was a recipient of the space also that was created. And it's not really that Cooper's creating the space. It's the defenses are keying in and having to play us a little differently because of Cooper and the fear and the forward in the future games. So that's good. The offensive line played a very good game. I thought they kept people off of Josh pretty well. I think he took 1 sack. No big deal. That happens. Ultimately, I thought that they gave him plenty of time. And against a pretty good, as I see the sack right here on the screen. But I thought that ultimately they played a pretty good game in the run game especially. But in the passing game, I thought that they protected pretty well for the most part. And that's going to, there's going to be hit and miss weeks. But I thought this was a hit week. I thought they did pretty good. Running game was strong when it happened. Didn't run quite as much this game. James Cook played early, and then he didn't play as much in the second half. That could be Ray Davis, or it could be that he's not completely healthy still. I think it's a combination of both. He would have played more otherwise. So Ray Davis is a really nice, pleasant surprise. Josh Allen, 323 yards, 2 touchdown passes, no picks again. Really good. And as far as the defense goes, I thought that the run defense struggled a little bit in the first moving into the second quarter. It was deceptive at the end of the game. I thought we didn't do well. And I looked at the stat line. I was like, oh, they settled in pretty good. Now, that could be because they got behind as well. They got away from the running game. But I think ultimately I looked at kind of like the numbers and how effective they were. They weren't really good yards per carry or anything. I think they just ended up. The other piece is how their passing game clicked. I thought our outside corners did a really good job against their receivers. And then Taron Johnson had a great game, of course. But ultimately, we're willing to give up passes to tight ends and running backs and things like that. That's basically what they utilized. They dinked and dunked in the first half in order to accumulate the yards they needed to. And then we're going to have to do that, I think, in the meantime, especially with DeMar Hamlin in the game. They have to cover him up. I know he had the interception at the end, dude. he got beat a few times again today, and he shouldn't have. I didn't like his game. I thought he played poorly. He had the pick. Great. He was in the right place at the right time. I guess that's what you need to do. But ultimately, he's not a good starting corner. He needs to be replaced, although I don't think they will. So I think we'll continue in games to probably give up the dinks and dunks, just giving them the short stuff because they're worried with Hamlin probably to get beat deep. He's going to have to be even further off the line of scrimmage than a normal starting free safety. Pass rush. AJ Epinesa looked great again. Greg Russo had probably his best game of his life, not his life, but of the year for him. And it was better than the first week. He had 3 sacks. He only had half a sack, but you could feel him every play. He was getting pressures. I knew it was going to come eventually. I'm shocked it didn't happen more often. The 1 sack they got split in half. It was really just him, and the other guy kind of came in late. I think it was Dwayne Smoot. So Daquan Jones had a good game. Speaking of that. I thought it was one of his better games. And Dwayne Carter is starting to really come on. I really like him. I even kind of like Dwayne Carter as a one tech as well. I know he's a little undersized at like 308 or 306. I can't remember what he is, but he really does a good job penetrating, stopping the run. And I felt him, especially on a 4th down stop in the 3rd quarter. Overall, I think we started slow. We picked up late. It was a good game. I thought that we really settled in. And ended up, finding our stride on offense, and hopefully that carries on to the next game. Speaking of the next game, Seahawks. Seahawks are 4-3, number 1 in the NFC West. I do not think they are that good. I think their passing offense is pretty good, but a lot of that has to do with DK. DK Metcalf is hurt. I don't think he's playing the sprained MCL. So that's the one piece that's going to go in our favor with our passing game. It will take a huge hit if they do that. I don't think we'll have any problem covering guys otherwise. He draws a lot of gravity to their passing game. So if he's not in the field, I don't think they have a chance. Walker's a good player, but they don't run the ball that well overall statistically. So we'll see how that looks. Hopefully we can kind of settle in and keep that under wraps a little bit, but I'm not overly concerned there. I think we can get pass rush, especially against their right tackle, who I believe they're in like right tackle 4 at this point. And then they just activated a couple guys off of the IR. So they're probably not going to be back this week though. So I think Greg Russo has an opportunity to have a really good game. I don't think we'll have a lot of problem with their pass rushers. They're okay. They're nothing special. They just made a trade and got rid of Baker at linebacker and got, I can't remember, the kid from Tennessee we played against last week, Ernest something. I can't remember his name, but we played. He's pretty good. We played him. There's in there Blitz and Allen. He was traded to the Seahawks today. So I don't know if he's going to be ready to play, but he just played us last week. So we're getting him 2 weeks in a row. Their defense is a standard 3-4 defense. And for the most part, it looks like the stuff I've seen anyway, the last game I saw them play, I felt like their linebackers struggled in coverage quite a bit, which is really bodes well for what we do. Right. Shakir and Kincaid kind of game, running backs out of the backfield, things like that. I think that's why they made the trade that they did. Although I didn't think that the guy from Tennessee was overly impressive in that fashion as well. So I think they were just trying to get better than Baker, who I've seen in the Dolphins uniform for the past 4 years, and he's not good in coverage. I know that. So I think they were just trying to get a little bump there and improve it. Young player, good player, but I don't think that their coverage is going to be great there. But I felt like they ran against the Falcons. Now, I could be wrong. I haven't looked at the data on it, but the stuff I was watching looks like they ran a fair amount of nickel, where their 3-4 defense is truly like a 5-2. Like there's 3 down linemen. They leave in 2 outside linebackers, but one of them's got his hand down, the other one doesn't, kind of thing. And then they run it. So I don't know. They have a good safety in Love. I think he's okay. He got a pick last week, but it was more of a bad throw, desperation play. Same thing with Kobe Bryant, who's on that team. He's kind of a nickel corner / strong safety kind of player. He had a pick as well. Bad throw again. I don't think those interceptions or anything on Kirk Cousins. I don't think there's like them creating problems. The game was kind of in hand already at that point. So I'm not really worried about that much. Tariq Woolen is maybe out as well. He didn't play last week, and I don't think he practiced today. I need to go check that. So if Woolen doesn't play, that's their number 1 or number 2 corner. It depends on what you think of Witherspoon. Witherspoon's a solid player, but I don't think he's anything like elite or impressive, like on that level where we're going to have a ton of problems with him. He's not like a Jalen Ramsey type uh, or any of these like elite corners. Like he's an okay player, but a young player, second-year player. So overall, that's kind of a high-level overview. I haven't done a ton of work on them this week, but I did watch their game and kind of analyze what I was looking at. So these are kind of stuff like off the cuff more so than me actually diving deep into it. I think Jackson Smith and Jigba is a Khalil Shakir type of player who can potentially pose some issues in the passing game, but with Taron Johnson, I don't think it's going to be a really hugely detrimental piece that's going to set us back or make a real threat. And Lockett is an older player that has been okay this year, but nothing super duper impressive. So what I'd say is score prediction for this game. I don't actually, I mean, I know it's away. The only advantage they really have is this is an away game. If DK Metcalf doesn't play, I don't think it's going to be close. My guess is something like, 31-23 would be what my guess is. We're favored by 3.5 going into this game away. So they clearly think we're the better team. And I think this new passing offense opens up some opportunities where people can't scout us fully yet. So they're going to look at this game to see what we're probably going to look like and not as much the previous game. So I think we can go back to original script a little bit that worked in the first 3 weeks in order to gain a little bit on them, and maybe the first 15 plays scripted, and then maybe transition a little bit to more Amari Cooper mixed in with the packages and things like that. He played 18 out of 55 plays last week. I think we're going to look more like 25 this week. I don't think it's going to be like 40 or 35 or anything like that. We rotate quite a bit. I think he's still going to be like the third most snapped receiver. However, I think he's finally going to be overtake Hollins as the second most snaps for a wide receiver. So I think that's what we're going to see as more of Hollins reps get more and more replaced as we go. And bring Hollins in on just specialty packages, 10 to 15 plays a game where he's in there just for blocking and things like that. Cause he's really not a serviceable player other than maybe a wide receiver 5, wide receiver 4 at best. So anyway, that's my prediction. I'll be back next week. I might change up some things with format potentially. So stay tuned with that. Thinking about starting kind of a new series with some stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks.